This is Free Talk Live. It is the live Saturday edition of the show. As always, you're invited to join us here. Our toll-free number is 855-450, free like freedom. It's 855-450-3733. With you tonight, it's Ian.
And Mark.
So, we do a show here all 7 nights a week, live. Now, not all of our radio listeners hear that because some stations take us, 1 night a week. Some take us 2. Some take us all 7. And the news about the Virginia Beach shooting obviously hit yesterday, but I held off purposely because, well, Virginia Beach is on with us on Saturday nights, not Friday nights. So wanted to make sure we had this conversation while the station, WNIS, great talk radio station there in Virginia Beach, Virginia, is on board with us. So obviously there was a shooting within the last, 24, 48 hours, something like that, sometime yesterday, I think. Yeah. Was it the end of the workday yesterday, basically?
I don't have the time.
Well, I think that according to this story here at pilotonline.com, it was the end of the day on Friday. So folks were close to 4 o'clock, I guess. Folks were getting ready to leave the office. Now, these aren't your typical offices. This was a city building that got shot up.
It's the kind of place that they give out permits and water usage plans and all that stuff.
Where bureaucrats are milling about doing all manner of unimportant things that the youth are forced to pay for. And it turns out the guy shot him up actually was one of their own.
Civil engineer, from what I understand.
18-year, I don't know, you want to call it a veteran?
15.
Okay, according to pilotonline.com, it was 18 years.
Maybe it's more. Maybe they meant to say more than 15. Go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, you said you wanted to share a story about this, so please go right ahead.
Yeah, I've got a story from CNN. I don't know that. Everybody's looking for answers right now. So Friday's massacre is the deadliest in the United States this year. Adds the city to a grim list of places impacted by deadly mass shootings. City manager Dave Hansen said that 11 city employees were killed.
Wasn't the guy in remember the California shooting a few years ago in, I forget the name of the city, but there was a gentleman and a lady, I think, who went in and shot up some bureaucrat offices. Wasn't one of them an employee there too?
As I recall, but I couldn't tell you.
San Bernardino, that's where it was. I feel like that person was also a city worker. So it's interesting when you see the government bureaucrats going after their own. Because normally you would expect the city government was going to push somebody over the edge with all of its stupid permits and all of its threats and violence that they use against us.
That certainly happened, and it could be the case here. We don't know. At this point,
well, he's a worker.
It's wild speculation at this point to determine.
Well, we don't know his motivation.
We don't.
I'm just saying it's, he's a worker for the government, right? So it's one of their own, not somebody that they've been pushing around just like your typical victim of the government.
Well, I don't know what it's. Maybe he's trying to get something done at a particular location in his house. Can't get it done. Feels like he's been treated badly. I don't know the answers.
Yeah, you're speculating. Yeah.
Well, maybe it's just that he's got some kind of labor dispute. I don't know.
Maybe somebody out there knows this guy. Because we are. Did they even get his name?
I've got a story about that too. A guy who's says he's quiet, but that he was doing the same thing he normally does on Friday morning, brushing his teeth in the employee bathroom. And guy comes up next to him, washes his hands, says, "Hey, how you doing?" He says,
so he was at work that day.
He's doing okay. And he says, "What are you going to do this weekend?" He says, "You got any plans for this weekend?" He says, "No." And that's the end of the conversation.
Was this the killer asking, do you have plans, or being asked the question?
This is somebody who was alive to give a report to news media and police about the killer's behavior.
No, but the bathroom situation, was it the killer who was asking the question?
The killer was brushing his teeth.
Okay.
The killer said no, he had no plans.
Okay, yeah, sorry, it wasn't clear what.
Because he was going to shoot people, and die.
Yeah.
So it was says that he had a rifle. There was a rifle found on site. There were 2 45s that he had with extended magazines, according to this. I don't know what an extended magazine is entirely. And he had other weapons at the house. So I don't know how relevant that is. If you intend to go on a killing spree, you leave weapons at the house. I don't know why that's particularly relevant, but it's true. According to this, the weapons were bought legally. So I don't know that he's a concealed carry permit holder, which of course brings concealed carry permit holders numbers they continue to come in as some of the safest people on the planet.
No doubt.
So I don't have much else to say about it other than it's a tragedy. It's a shame. I would like to know more about what his motive was. They're not giving his name often, although we do have it.
You have it?
Yeah, I've got his name.
Oh, it says here Arthur Felton.
That's not his name.
No?
No. His name's Craddock.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I was reading the wrong part about the 18 years, so you're probably right about the 15 years.
Yeah. So, right. So, what? I don't know what
Craddock?
Craddock. And Dwayne Craddock.
Okay.
I don't know anything else about him. But,
Dwayne.
Yeah.
Dewayne. Dwayne Craddock with a C.
Yeah,
Craddock.
they've hunted around on him, but the guy was, didn't have a lot to hunt around on. They found his civil engineer license, and he used to work prior to 15 years. He worked for a local organization, and that was it. So there's not much to say about it other than it's sad. He had a security pass, so he was able to go from office to office shooting people, unlike your average person who might have gone to a city office.
A lot of government buildings have security at the front, checking people with, whatever. But that's not going to stop a madman from coming in and shooting the security, crew, or just waiting out in the parking lot. If at 4 o'clock, they're all going to come out and get in there and try to get in their cars. You get a whole group of them there. So they can try to increase security at the government building, but that's not going to ultimately do anything against somebody determined to take some people out.
The presumption is that somehow we are less safe than the government employees, or we would have greater reason or something like that. I don't know. I can't speak to any of those, but in this case, it was a government employee, and he had a pass, and he used it.
Yeah.
Now, another possibility is the ever-present sort of antidepressants thing. People. There's either people are killing people because they're depressed, or they're killing people because they take these serotonin uptake inhibitors or whatever the hell they're called. I'm not an expert in this, but those things have been associated in the past. Could be that. I don't know.
Well, if you, maybe a little bit more, maybe you're living in Virginia Beach and you are connected to this situation in some way. Perhaps you are this guy's neighbor. I mean, we're on the air there, and WNIS has a big audience. If you want to weigh in, you're certainly welcome to do so at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Let's go to Annie. She's in Arizona. Annie, you're on Free Talk Live with Ian and Mark. Go ahead.
Hi. It's just Ann, unless you're teasing me and calling me Annie Oakley, because my great-great-grandfather was the mayor of Tombstone.
Oh, sorry about that. Didn't know. Go ahead, Ann. You're on the air.
I have been researching the mass shootings. I've worked many of the school shootings for 30 years.
When you say you worked them, you mean you've been on the scene, or you just have researched them extensively?
Well, I was the expert in a case that was filed against the drug companies for causing Columbine.
Oh, really?
By one of the victims. Yeah, there were 5 families that were ready to join with him. But after they were threatened by the drug company, they backed off.
Okay.
So, anyway, so I've worked many that way. I've been testifying in these cases for years. And there's so much that happens in court that the general public is totally unaware of.
Like what?
What kind of things happen in court?
Well, like we've got a memo from the head scientist at Eli Lilly, who put the first one of these out, Prozac. And when their own scientist came to them and said, whoa, we've got a problem here, because it looks like Prozac is actually causing suicide. And he actually sent a memo back, which surprises me. So there is a paper trail.
Hold that thought, Annie. We'll let you finish the story about this Prozac guy talking about causing suicide and possibly other homicidal aspirations. More coming up. Free Talk Live. This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever you want here. We're talking about the shooting that happened in Virginia Beach yesterday afternoon as bureaucrats at the city building, one of the city buildings, were getting ready to leave work. One of their co-workers, apparently, Dwayne Craddock, came in, or maybe he was already there, and just started shooting people, I guess. And now apparently 13 are dead as a result of this.
Well, he's one of them.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Yeah, I'd heard something about that.
11 city employees, obviously.
Oh, it was only 11? Okay.
A gunman and then a contractor.
I see.
Who was just there trying to get a permit, you know?
Yeah. That's what you get for trying to get a permit, I guess.
Well, please. I mean, you got to get a permit if you want to build.
Or else men with guns will come and shoot you down, right?
Well, probably not immediately.
Well, they will threaten you if they find out that you're working without their permission slip, and then if you continue to work without a permission slip, they will send men with guns to stop you from doing that at some point. And if you don't stop
that edifice that you're building, I suppose
you don't stop, they're going to pull their guns out on you.
Ultimately, there is no law without force.
Without deadly force, you mean, backing it. According to the story here, we'll get back to your calls as well. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. There's another CNN piece that interviewed some of his neighbors, and they say that he kept to himself. We can tell you a little bit more about it. Apparently, he had a military past, so yet another mad shooter trained by the government. If you want to reach people with the ideas of liberty, you can do it from the back of your car with libertystickers.com. You can reach thousands of people with a bumper sticker, and you know people love to read them. So check out the vast selection of witty, poignant, pithy, and downright bombastic liberty-oriented messages available over at libertystickers.com. As we continue with Ann in Arizona, and you said you were actually a court witness, an expert witness in the one of the Columbine cases where parents were attempting to sue the medical companies that had manufactured the SSRIs that the shooters were taking. And you were beginning to tell us kind of like some of the behind the scenes or a story from that. If you could quickly recap for our listeners just tuning in.
Okay. Yes, we had a memo that we were able to use in court where Eli Lilly's main scientist went to the head scientist for Eli Lilly and said, we've got a problem here because it appears that Prozac is actually causing suicide. And the memo he sent back to them was, we cannot afford to lose Prozac.
Just put it on the side effects list.
Yeah, well, he said, you're going to need to tell them that the suicide is coming from the underlying depression.
And this
was that before?
Testimony in court?
Yes.
Huh.
Yes, it was, and there's been many wrongful death cases settled.
Well, now, we don't know if this person in this case was actually on these drugs. There's no evidence yet of that.
But we have a lot of clues. The neighbor said that he was up most of the night. He would hear him up. You cannot sleep on antidepressants.
Really?
And even...
I'm not on antidepressants, but I'm regularly up till 3 a.m., so I don't know. I mean, that's a clue.
But you don't work a 9-to-5 job for the city.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Says he left at 7 a.m. in the morning, so, yeah, that's not a whole lot of sleep. I'll tell you one thing. I've had lack of sleep, and it made me go insane, so that could be a factor here, too, if he's not getting enough sleep.
Yeah, well, I think anybody knows that if you cannot sleep, you will go psychotic.
Absolutely.
So, and it's because what happens is your REM sleep, your dream state of sleep, your body will force you into that while you're awake to compensate for not being able to go into REM while you're actually asleep. And that's one of the first things they saw with these drugs is that it would repress REM sleep. So even if he had the problem before, thanks to the military giving him something, it still would indicate that that would be a reason why a doctor would give him one of these drugs, because they often give them as a sleeping pill, which is insane.
But you just said that you can't sleep when you're on the antidepressants. Why would that be prescribed for that reason?
marketing.
Well,
Why
I mean,
do you think drug companies spend more on marketing than research?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty jaded view of what a doctor would be doing for his patient, but I guess it's not impossible.
Well, that's not that the doctor would know. If the doctor hasn't seen the research, he's not going to know that. He's going to believe the drug rep that comes in and says, this is great for sleep. So anyway, there's another case that happened in Wyoming. This was a case I worked for 3 years, worked it with Jerry Spence for a while until Jerry decided he was retiring. He's the one that was interviewed so much during the O.J. Simpson trial, the leather jacket.
Okay.
Cowboy.
So what happened in Wyoming?
Anyway, what happened there was an elderly man took 2 doses of an antidepressant over 2 days. After the second dose, he got up the following morning, got his wife, daughter, who was visiting, along with her baby.
Jeez.
And then himself.
Wow.
In that case,
2 doses.
the drug company expert testified that what should be expected because of the way these drugs affect serotonin levels is impulsive murder or suicide.
It should be expected.
Yes.
Wow, that's horrifying. And scary stuff. Thank you for calling and sharing your expertise with us here tonight on this topic. I definitely appreciate hearing from you. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Just horrifying.
Yeah, I'm stunned by hearing all these things. It's hard to imagine, but I don't know how. Everybody thinks you can somehow, centrally plan society based on these sort of outlying situations that are probably done by crazy people or people that are, harmed by these drugs or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you do that. Are we taking away everybody's rights because somebody, does something crazy? I guess that's the idea.
Let's talk to Sean. He is in Chesapeake, Virginia, listening to WNIS. Hello, Sean. You're on Free Talk Live.
Hi, how you doing?
Hey, you're on the air. Doing good.
I'd just like to confirm what that lady just said about the Prozac. I had a friend who battled depression for about 20 years, but never took any medication or sought any professional help. And he went to see a professional psychiatrist, and they put him on Prozac. And within 2 weeks, he lined his living room with plastic and blew his head off.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. He battled it for 20 years.
Without the drugs.
And never came close to that.
Yeah.
Was on Prozac for 2 weeks, and he killed himself.
Yeah,
That's
I think
horrifying.
that, just my layman's guess on this is that the brain is so complicated when we throw in these chemicals. In some cases, they're bound to work. In other cases, they seem to cause catastrophic problems.
Sean, thanks for calling to share that with us. Really appreciate hearing from you as well. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. We have time for you if you want to join us. Comment on these antidepressants. Were these a factor in the shooting in Virginia? We don't know at this point. Or is he just mad at his coworkers? There's more coming up here. It's Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live has found that though U.S. financial institutions are prohibited from doing business with foreign gambling websites, it's not illegal for U.S.-based internet users to gamble on those sites. People have been using VPNs or virtual private networks to connect to sites like games.bitcoin.com and play games with Bitcoin Cash. Games.bitcoin.com features poker, blackjack, roulette, craps, keno, slots, and dice. You can conduct your own investigation at games.bitcoin.com. Hey, it's Free Talk Live. You're invited to join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. It's 855-450-3733. We've got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms at discord.lrn.fm. If you want to sound like you're sitting here in the studio with us, Ian and Mark, you can do that at discord.lrn.fm.
Is oral care important to you? Do you want to have a whiter, cleaner smile and fresh breath? My Magic Mud is a black tooth powder made of charcoalized coconut shells and bentonite clay. Sounds crazy, right? Well, here on Free Talk Live, we've been using My Magic Mud since they were just getting started, and we can testify that it is an awesome product. So indispensable to my life, in fact, that I haven't been without it since the very first time that I tried it. Use it every day for 4 days, and then every 3 or 4 days afterwards, and you'll see the effects. Clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better than regular toothpaste, too. You can get My Magic Mud at most local health food stores, Sprouts, local grocers, CVS, Walmart's natural beauty aisle, but I can get you 20% off with code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. It's mymagicmud.com, coupon code FTL20. That's FTL as in Free Talk Live, FTL20 at mymagicmud.com.
Dwayne Craddock is the purported shooter that attacked the city hall in Virginia Beach, or one of the city municipal buildings, shooting roughly a dozen people, apparently, and then ending up being killed himself by a shootout with police. There's a news story at CNN talking about, who was this guy? Well, apparently he worked in the public utilities department with the city there for about 15 years, listed on department news releases as a point of contact for information on local road projects over the past several years. Before working with the city, he was a project manager for a Virginia-based engineering firm and had a bachelor's degree in civil engineering, and also spent some time in the National Guard. Back in April of 1996, was assigned to the 1st Battalion, 111th Field Artillery Regiment, etc., was discharged in April of 2002. So he was National Guardsman for 6 years, held the rank of specialist at the time. No overseas.
That's basically corporal.
No overseas deployments, according to his records. His parents say they weren't aware of any trouble that he had been having with his employer.
Imagine how their life is turned upside down right now. How
basically
awful.
Has no criminal history except for a minor motor vehicle infraction in 2013. So neighbors say that he had 3 securities set up in a pair of windows looking out onto the grassy apartment complex. Clarissa Morell, age 22, lived next door.
What was that? Say that again about the security? I didn't really understand.
He had what appeared to be, this is according to Clarissa, who's his next-door neighbor, 3 security cameras set up in a pair of windows looking out onto the grassy apartment complex. She said she had arrived home Friday night when police launched flashbangs at his apartment, heard an officer over a loudspeaker saying, "Step out with your hands up." I guess they were looking for others, maybe? That seems like a strange thing to do when you already killed the guy earlier in the day.
Possibly he went back to his apartment and they had the gun battle there?
I thought you had told me that it was at the bureaucracy at the building.
God, there's so many
Morell
stories
has
at this point.
Lived in the apartment for only 2 years, but only remembered interacting with Craddock once a few months ago. Craddock was in front of his apartment with 2 other people smoking what smelled like marijuana. See, that's what did it, Mark. It's the marijuana craze.
Well, seems unlikely.
No, it's highly unlikely. She says he catcalled me. He said, "Oh, hey, girl, how you doing?" Stuff like that. I was intimidated by him. I know when I'm uneasy about people. Another neighbor told CNN affiliate that the gunman kept to himself and was always in and out of his apartment with a book bag. Said you heard him walking around, would drop stuff at like 2 a.m. Me and my roommate would try to figure out what he was doing. The neighbor said, who lived below Mr. Craddock. Didn't engage in much talk, adding in, quote, "The year I've been there, we've had maybe 3 conversations, and that's about it. I know what gym he goes to, and that's about it." So, says, quote, "I never saw him take the trash out, never saw him bring groceries in, never saw people coming in or going out. He kept to himself." We go to your calls and your thoughts. You can bring up what you want here. Keith is in Virginia Beach, listening on WNIS. Hello, Keith.
I'm actually about 20 miles away from where it happened,
Gotcha.
So not in the city. But thanks for taking my call.
You're closer than anyone else who's called so far tonight, so welcome. What's on your mind?
Thank you. The same topic, and Ann Blake Tracy, who you just spoke to, I've actually known her for 15 years, and she's really solid in what she's done.
And that was Ann who called earlier. Okay, gotcha. I didn't know what her last name was.
Ann Blake Tracy. Yeah, she's been on some other interviews, InfoWars, and some other too. But guns even tonight, Cory Booker, for example, the guns get blamed, the NRA gets blamed, the Second Amendment gets blamed, veterans get blamed, Republicans get blamed, even President Trump gets blamed for what government-approved prescription mind-altering drugs are causing in so many cases.
So you believe this guy was on antidepressants?
I don't know, but because so many of them are, for example, the school shootings that Ann Blake Tracy has researched, she said all of them were on them. She's featured in the only exceptions to that she can conclusively say is that 2 of them she wasn't able to get information from the police investigators or autopsies or whatever as far as what medications they were on, if they were on anything, and since she didn't have that information, she can't say in those 2. But all the other school shootings, they were. And the other thing is that and you can read about a lot of these cases, ssristories.net, where she's just chronicled thousands of them over the last 30 years, and actually her other website, drugawareness.org. Now, on her board was Candace Pert, Ph.D., who had told Time magazine, "I'm alarmed at the monster I created," referring to Prozac. She was a co-creator of Prozac, Dr. Candace Pert. She passed away recently. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's another additional witness of what Ann Blake Tracy is saying is correct. Ann wrote a book many years ago and recently updated called Prozac, Panacea, or Pandora. But it's really important that everybody know that there's a greater risk of violence from these medications when people do any kind of withdrawal or changes. They can often be more dangerous than just staying on the medication. So, be very, very careful. She actually is also an expert in helping people to get off of the medications safely, even better than what, mainstream doctors or anybody else is able to do, because they don't really understand, as she said, how these drugs work. They just go by what the big pharma salespeople tell them.
That's pretty scary.
So, yeah, it's really important that if starting, stopping, changing dosage, combining with other drugs, alcohol, et cetera, that people really be careful about that. And you can consult her website, drugawareness.org, for information on that, too.
Keith, thank you for calling to share that with us tonight. I definitely appreciate hearing from you. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Let's go to Barry. Oh, Barry just dropped off the line. Toll-free number, 855-450-3733.
Yeah, I mean, for one, some may say it's irresponsible for us to just suggest reasons for this sort of thing happening. But I would hope that they would say it's equally irresponsible for the Democratic candidates for president to be coming out with solutions to the gun problem right on the back of this at the same time.
That's to be expected.
Yeah, well, it's certainly what happens every single time. I got an email here from Marianne Williamson, who's running for president, and she's got a list of things that she's going to do. It looks like
she's going to put a stop to this,
huh?
Yeah,
she's got a 7-point plan.
All right, well, let's hear about it. Coming up here in moments, your calls and thoughts also welcome. Our number for you, if you want to join us, 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Still, nobody really knows what the motivation was here. Was there a note left? We don't know yet. It's Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live. Dial on in here and take control of the airwaves. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. With you tonight, it's Ian.
And Mark.
Don't forget, you can join us online. Head over to freetalklive.com and please enjoy the features that we have waiting for you on our site over at freetalklive.com. There are a bunch of them, including the AMP program allows you to actually support what we do here on Free Talk Live. Go to amp.freetalklive.com. And by the way, I want to say thanks to David R. Jeffries, who is a Free Talk Live Gold amplifier. Now, most of the features that we give to you on the site are free, so archives that go back for more than a decade, Those are free. The webcam, you can watch that for free. I mean, pretty much everything that's there by default you get for free. But if you want to help support the show, then please become an amplifier at amp.freetalklive.com. You can do it for $5 a month. David is doing $10 a month. He's a gold amplifier, but all we ask for is $5. And so we really appreciate anybody who signs up because it makes a big difference. It helps us to know that you appreciate what we do because we do this for free. And, obviously we have advertisers, but we give you the features for free. A lot of other shows will charge you for things like archives, live streams, all that stuff. Most of these other talk show hosts out there, the nationally syndicated shows, the big name guys, they charge $5, $6, $7, $8 a month. And then you get access to their website. So if you appreciate what we do and you want to help us get on more radio stations, we hit over 200 within the last few weeks, which is awesome. But we can do more. And we can do it with your help at amp.freetalklive.com. You will get a few perks that'll, sweeten the deal a little bit. You can learn about those at amp.freetalklive.com. Mark, I know you want to get into the 7-point plan by Democratic candidate Marianne Williamson, what she plans to do about guns. But first, we go to your phone calls and thoughts here. Let's start with Dennis. He's in Myrtle Beach listening to WRNN. Hello, Dennis.
Yes, sir. I appreciate what you guys are doing. I listen to you every Saturday.
Thank you.
I just wanted to make a comment about that fellow that called about Cory Booker jumping on the bandwagon against the NRA.
Mm-hmm.
And those people, the police officers that went in and took care of that shooter, I mean, they were great. But I know that was a no shooting zone. It was a government or state office. It's a no firearm zone. And if there had been a couple people in there with our Second Amendment rights that had guns, they might have been able to save even more lives. And that was the only comment I wanted to make. But I really appreciate.
Well, I think I'm glad you brought that up because it was one of the few that we had not yet made on this situation. It's like a typical thing that should be said. So I'm glad that you did point that out. Is a lot of these shootings, a lot of times they go on in schools where it's also a gun-free zone. And this is also likely a gun-free zone. Now, I don't know how much security they have at the, the ground floor level of the building. Not all government buildings have security. It depends on what town, you're in, what state. Like here in Keene, New Hampshire, there's no security whatsoever in these government buildings except for courthouses and, jails. But beyond that, you can just waltz right in anywhere. And I think that's a good thing. I don't want to have to pass through a metal detector before I, have to go into some government building to pay whatever tax.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So, Dennis, thanks for calling and sharing that tonight. I would definitely appreciate hearing from you.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for listening there.
I appreciate what you guys do.
Thank you, Dennis. Toll-free number here, 855-450-FREE. I mean, Dennis is absolutely right. If people are free to carry guns, and I'm sure Marianne Williamson, whoever she is, would disagree with this, but if people are free to carry guns wherever they go, then you've got a more safe society because there are likely people in the nearby vicinity who could respond much faster than a police officer could respond to that situation. The police have to get a call. The dispatch has to call out to the cars, and one may be nearby, but by the time all that's happened, by the time that cop puts his car in gear and heads the direction of the shooting, there's already several dead bodies on the ground.
Right, and some people have analyzed this, and what they see is that when there is a concealed carry permit holder or a off-duty police officer or something that's in the nearby vicinity when something like this happens, that not that the situation doesn't occur, but that far fewer people are harmed. And you'll find over and over and over again that these situations occur in gun-free zones.
That's right.
So, I mean, our illustrious politicians have done their duty in writing down on a piece of paper that guns are simply not allowed here. In this spot here, you may not bring a gun, and of course, you may not shoot people. Not that there haven't been laws against murder in this country for 240 years.
None of them have ever stopped a lunatic.
Right. So bullets fly through paper. They just don't do anything.
Let's talk to Richard. He's in New Mexico listening in Farmington to KENN. Go ahead, Richard.
Yes. Just want to let you know that the reason all this is happening is deficiency in lithium.
Oh?
It's a deficiency in lithium. Okay, where do you get lithium?
Through prescription?
You get it from the ground.
Okay.
From all the things you're supposed to eat. But if you have a shortage of lithium, you're going to have violence, and you're going to have all these shootings.
See, I've heard that people that are on lithium are super crazy. Is that not the case?
Say again?
I've heard that people that are taking lithium, as part of like a prescription, are like super nutso.
Well, I don't know about that. All I know is it's the shortage of lithium that causes all this.
Well, now that's an interesting theory, Richard.
On this guy, they'll find that he was short on lithium. I bet you $1.
All right. Well, that's a big bet. Thanks for the call tonight. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. I mean, isn't lithium one of the things they prescribe to people who are like super crazy?
Yeah, well, there's a difference.
And then it makes them like even more crazy.
There's a difference between a drug and a dietary supplement.
Okay.
I don't know. I've looked it up here. It says that there is apparently problems with having too much lithium, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know everything about lithium by any stretch of the imagination, but
I think there's a Nirvana song about it. Let's continue here.
The right amount of lithium in your blood so that medicine can work. I don't know.
Lithium as a treatment for bipolar disorder, apparently. Let's talk to David. He's in Myrtle Beach. David, you're on Free Talk Live, listening to WRNN.
Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for taking my call, sir. Dennis stole some of my thunder about public buildings, schools, churches, any place where people are gathering. I think that people that are in those organizations should be trained very thoroughly in the handling of firearms and be proficient at it, and also trained or talk to and make sure their mental attitude is correct and their background checks and all that stuff. And they should be armed people in schools, churches, and public buildings. That was one thing. Like I said, Dennis stole my thunder there. But the other thing is this. When I was a child, I'm 71, a Vietnam veteran, I got a license to carry in New York State in 1969. And Pataki and Schumer eventually, I had a lifetime carry permit, concealed carry permit. And because of Schumer and Pataki, they changed the rules, and I can no longer carry legally in New York State. I reside in South Carolina now, and when I came here, I got a carry permit. I also have what they call a Utah carry permit, which allows you, if you're licensed in the state you live in, you can get a non-resident Utah carry permit, and you can carry in a lot of different states that reciprocate South Carolina.
Yeah, most of them, yeah.
Your other listeners out there. But I believe when I was a child, I was taught no ma'am, yes ma'am, no sir, yes sir. I was taught to respect authority. I was taught to respect every single individual that walks the face of the earth. Every person that walks the face of the earth, I consider my brother and my sister until they prove otherwise. And then I just soon plant them. So I think that I know a lot of teachers, and they say there's no respect. The students have no respect for their authority. That's the biggest problem, I think, in society today. And the Prince of Darkness rules the world. And maybe we're coming towards the end times. I don't know about that. I'm not super religious, but I do know the Prince of Darkness rules this world.
So you're not super religious, but you believe in the Prince of Darkness? Is that like Satan? What is that?
Well, I believe if you believe in God, then you got to believe in Satan also.
No, you don't. No, that's just the Christian God. That's like the daddy God or whatever. I believe in a supreme, universal force, but it doesn't necessarily mean there's like some evil devil creature that's got a tri-pronged, fork that he's, cackling in some hellscape.
Yeah, the belief in God is just a belief in a creator. I mean, somebody made my car. That doesn't mean that somebody out there, was the opposite of somebody who makes a car or whatever.
I kind of agree with what you're saying, but basically, there's definitely evil in the world.
That's true.
That's true.
I believe it comes from man.
Yeah.
No, there's Hitlers and there's Hitlers and all the other demonic individuals in the world that are so evil. And I think we're going to see that in society.
Yeah, the question is, what do you do about it? David, thanks for the call tonight here. How do we, is it possible to reduce the evil in the world? It is Free Talk Live.
Don't you hate that feeling in the pit of your stomach when the police pull you over? Most people have no idea how to handle it properly, and they promptly get fed into the municipal fee-generating meat grinder. Or maybe you recall that feeling you get when you go to the mailbox and see one or more letters from the IRS. You get a sense of impending doom, don't you? So let me ask you, if you could learn how to use the law to beat the IRS, traffic tickets, almost any courtroom scenario, collectors, credit card debt, and even mortgage debt because of fraud perpetrated against you, would that be worth knowing about? Don't laugh. Investigate. Check out the life-changing benefits of the Lighthouse Law Club at their website, lighthouselaw.club. That's lighthouselaw.club. And while you're at it, visit the Lighthouse Law Club YouTube channel. You might be in for a pleasant surprise.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll-free here and bring up whatever you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. And we do have the Discord on-air call-in line rooms that allow you to call in. Sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio with us. It's Ian.
And Mark.
In the last hour, we talked a lot about the Virginia Beach shooting, the latest in a series of ongoing killings in the United States over time. We don't know all the details on this one, but some suggest that maybe the SSRIs, the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, I believe is what that stands for.
That sounds about right.
That they may be playing a role because one researcher who called into the show in the last hour says she's looked at a lot of these school shooting cases and has found that that's a pretty common link between the shooters in those cases. Now, we don't know about Dwayne Craddock, who is the alleged shooter there in Virginia Beach, having killed at least a dozen people at a government building. And apparently he was one of the government employees himself working for some engineering department of the bureaucracy, that he murdered his coworkers, but we're not really clear what the reason was, if there was one. Was he on these drugs, or was he just upset at working for a, lifeless bureaucracy? I don't know. And if you know, or if you have any, suggestions, or you want to weigh in here on this discussion, you're welcome to join us. Plus, Mark, you got an email from a presidential candidate that we'll get into here. She's got a 7-point plan as to what she's wanting to do about guns, and we will get into that. Of course, generally the viewpoint here on Free Talk Live is that more guns in the hands of good people, who understand how to use them, who've practiced, for instance, with them, who've trained, that more guns in people's hands and carried in purses and in the smalls of backs and such, concealed carry, open carry even, will lead to likely fewer of these things happening. Or if they do happen, fewer people being killed by the madman or mad teenager or mad woman or whoever it is. Usually doesn't seem to be women, though, that go on these
often
killing sprees.
Yeah.
So if you want to join us, the toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. And then somebody called in to say that he thought it was lithium, that people need more lithium, and that's why it's lithium deficiency, he says, is what's causing this. Now, I don't know if, that's true, but I didn't know a whole lot about lithium. I remember hearing, people who are crazy, get put on lithium and don't necessarily get better, but apparently the internet loves this stuff. I mean, I was just looking for stories about lithium or just kind of trying to, find out about it, and apparently it's a very effective treatment for bipolar disorder. One lady was saying that it does tamp her down, meaning that she's not really able to experience joy either. So she's not having the bad side of bipolar, but she's not having the good side.
That's lithium as a
either.
Medication as opposed to lithium as a dietary need.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, if you're taking it as a medication, apparently it is very effective with bipolar, with some side effects like you might need a kidney transplant at some point later on in your life. But interesting. If you want to comment, if you've got experience, we'd love to hear from you. Toll-free number, 855-450-FREE, like freedom. We'll get into that email from the presidential candidate, Marianne Williamson, in just a moment here. But first,
I actually have several statements from several different Democratic candidates.
Okay, but she had a 7-point plan. We love multi-point things that we can, pick apart. So let's go to Devin first, though. He's in Grand Rapids, listening to WTKG. Go ahead, Devin.
I was just kind of curious. Was it a couple months ago
there also was another shooting, and didn't they sue some gun company over that shooting?
Boy, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, somebody may have filed suit, but I haven't heard anything about a gun company having any kind of settlement against it.
Okay, then the thing is, what about all these people driving? I live in Grand Rapids on 28th Street. They're texting all the time. Now, what if they would kill somebody? Would they sue the people who owns their component, the texting machine? What do you call these things?
We call them cell phones.
By the way, I did find the story here. It was NPR reporting in March of this year that Sandy Hook victims have filed a lawsuit against Remington in that case.
And it's wrong. It's wrong with people to die that way. It's wrong. But the gun didn't make the choice. The person made the choice.
That's true.
So are they going to start suing these cell phone companies now because people are killing people while they're texting?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, people need to be responsible and held responsible for their actions.
Well, I can tell you that they're going to sue the drug companies over oxycodone because some people abused it at some point. So, it seems to be just how much the public likes or dislikes the particular item, not how deadly it is. Because you're absolutely right. Cell phones, distracted driving, but largely that means cell phone usage. Distracted driving is as bad or worse than drunk driving.
And how many people were killed because of cell phones compared to guns last year?
I bet you a lot more.
The only questions I want to ask you.
Yeah, if you're not counting gun suicides, then I would say it was probably commensurate.
Yeah, it's a good question. Devin, anything else you want to share?
Nope, that's all I want to ask.
Thanks for the call.
Okay?
Appreciate hearing from you.
Yeah,
the toll-free number, 855-450-FREE, like freedom. Let's continue here. We've got Ray in Texarkana listening to KTFS. Hello, Ray.
Hello. How are you doing today?
Hey, good. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I would just like to, I'm a firearms enthusiast, and I would like to point out the good that firearms have done for the human condition,
Yeah, please.
I mean, before the firearm, basically, we were at the mercy of the aristocrats, whereas we were out trying to plow the field and, they got to practice all day with their weapons.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Hey, you're right here, man.
Yeah.
And, they got to practice cutting serfs' heads off with their swords and stuff. And the firearms has just leveled the field,
No doubt. Well, how about all the times that guns have been used to defend against an attacker? Like,
more than 1 million every year, according to the Center for Disease Control.
At least I've heard it's more than 2 million because they don't all go and get reported.
Right.
You pull a gun on somebody in a parking lot or flash one. If you're a lady walking back out to your car or something like that, and some thug tries to accost you or whatever, and then you flash a gun. You don't have to fire it, and you don't have to kill the guy, but it might be enough to scare him away. I mean, these sorts of things happen all the time.
Well, yeah, I know of it happening. People, using it to someone who is weaker. We'll say the weaker person has something there that and then this person who is using their brawn, we'll say, sees that and goes, well, probably I shouldn't. I should probably. Get my car and drive away.
Yeah, they're going to find another mark. They're going to find another victim.
But the saying is, God made man, Sam Colt made him equal.
Good call, Ray. Thanks for making it tonight. I appreciate you. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE like freedom.
And this is a world where a little 95-pound lady can carry an equalizer.
It's not a world like that. It's in the United States. In some parts of the U.S., that little lady can do that. In a lot of countries of the world, there's no guns allowed by anybody but the government goons.
You're right. They're victim. There's lots of them have victim disarmament laws.
Yeah, even and some of the cities and states in the United States make it very, very difficult.
And some of the government buildings, sadly.
Mm-hmm. Let's continue here. James is in Texas, also listening to KTFS there in Texarkana. Hello, James. You're on Free Talk Live.
Well, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I just wanted to tell you that our local schools, it's a small town, and all the schools from kindergarten through high school are on the same campus. There are signs outside every place that a driveway is that says our teachers are armed.
Oh, wow.
They are trained. They will use deadly force to protect our children.
Is that common in Texas, or is it just, your area?
I have no idea. To tell you the truth, I really don't know, but they're doing here, and I looked at the sign the first time I saw it and said, "Yeehaw!"
Yeah. That's great news. I mean, I'd much rather see a school where, first of all, I'd rather see no government schools whatsoever and have the marketplace provide education, because that would be a heck of a lot better. But if you're going to have a school, whether it's a government school or a private school or whatever, have it be an open campus where anybody can come and go. We don't need these gigantic fences with barbed wire and guards and metal detectors.
What's it like to raise a kid basically in a prison? An analog
That's
to a
what
prison.
it is. That's exactly what it is. James, good call. Thanks for sharing that. It's really interesting. Did not know that was going on out there. So kudos to the school system there in Texarkana. More on the way here. Our number is 855-450 free like freedom. This is Free Talk Live. It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up what you want here. Live Saturday edition of the show. Although most of the calls and the discussion here tonight has focused on the most recent shooting. One presidential candidate, Mark, you have an email from her that says she's got a 7-point plan. And hopefully we're going to get into that. But the phones are loaded up. So do you want to do 1 point and then take the calls, or just jump right in? To the calls.
That's what we do. I'm ready to go if you want to point.
I was just asking.
Point number one: require universal background checks of all gun purchasers, whether purchases occur online at gun show events, at a licensed dealer locations, or friendly transfers.
Oh my!
So, basically going to make selling a gun to your friend illegal, as though that's the way this guy got his guns. We have no idea.
Yeah. Well, the claim was he did buy them legally. That's all that we know. The toll-free number here, if you want to join us, is 855-450-FREE. We'll get back into your calls and thoughts. Also,
the thousands of hammers that are used in homicides in this country every single year are all purchased legally.
Yeah, I shudder to think about what it would be like if people on an individual basis had to do a background check just to sell somebody a gun. Because, why would I want to do that? It's my friend or whatever. I'm selling it to somebody I know. Why should I have to, do a background check on that? And that's going to lead to sting operations. That's going to lead to people getting thrown in a prison cell for selling a gun, even though no crime was actually committed. The new crime would be the selling of the gun without, doing the background check. And I just feel like people who are in the business of selling guns should trust their gut. If somebody's acting crazy or you question them, whether or not they're sane or whatever, you're not sure about selling it to them, then don't sell it to them. That doesn't mean that an insane person won't be able to acquire a firearm.
They're requiring them now.
Right. And the guns aren't going away. So if you
at this point, estimates have been as high as 2 guns for every person in the country. 600 million guns. Yeah. Explain to me. This isn't an island in the middle of the Atlantic. Explain to me how you're going to get rid of them.
Let's continue. We can do more of her 7-point plan here in moments. Also, want to make sure that you know about the upcoming Freedom Fest, the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. This year's theme, the Wild West, liberty and opportunity, or lawlessness and violence. Penn Jillette, Lenore Skenazy, Candace Owens, John Mackey, Kevin O'Leary, Kevin Harrington, Stephen Moore, Grover Norquist, and others will be speaking there. Go to freedomfest.com.
Glenn Beck's going to be there, too.
I heard about that. freedomfest.com/FTL, and that's where you can learn more about the event. Get your tickets and use code FTL50, that's FTL50, for a discount. Does that get you $50 off, Mark? Is that what that discount is?
$50 off, yes.
Not too shabby.
FTL50.
freedomfest.com/FTL. That's the URL to go and check out more about the event. You can also get the 5 best speeches from last year for free on video. Judge Napolitano, Alan Dershowitz, Charlie Kirk, Heather McDonald, and John Mackey. You'll watch them to give you a little taste of what the event might have been like, but obviously you don't get the networking or any of the other cool stuff that goes on. And I don't know, because I've never been, but Mark, you said it was a pretty cool event. You've been more than once to this
great
thing. So go to freedomfest.com/FTL. It's July 17th through the 20th, by the way, and it will be at the Paris.
Yes.
FTL50 is the coupon code. As we continue, we will take your calls and thoughts here. Let's go to Ron in Norfolk, listening to WNIS. Ron, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Welcome.
I live in Norfolk, which borders Virginia Beach. The
right.
borderline's only 4 miles from where I live, and then another 7-8 miles to where this happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a friend who I work with at night, and he works for the city of Virginia Beach during the day, full time. And I finally got in touch with him last night, and he told me that the guy who did this, he was either found out he was getting terminated or he was terminated. He didn't tell me what for, but he said if it was something, if he'd only worked there 3 years, I probably wouldn't have terminated him.
Said that he'd worked there for 15 years.
Yeah, so, you know, they were going to get rid of him, and there goes his retirement, there goes his pension, there goes his plan for the rest of his life, so he snapped.
Interesting.
Yeah, they. As I understand it, he was washing his hands in the morning there, so he was in the employee area, and his card still worked. So
normally, if you terminate somebody, you turn off their security card
so
immediately.
He must have found out he was getting terminated. There.
It could be.
And he said if he would have walked out, that building has 4 entrances. If he would have walked out this one entrance, he only had to walk 30 feet. He'd walked into the building where all the big wig city officials are.
Yeah, it makes you wonder why he would go taking out low-level permit issuing bureaucrats.
They keep saying on the news how he went floor to floor to floor shooting. It's only a 2-story building.
Well, maybe floor to floor.
Floor to floor, right?
Yeah, floor to floor to floor, 2-story building.
Expect the news to exaggerate.
I guess that would be floor to floor.
It's true.
Yeah, that's just
anyway,
funny.
I thought I'd share that and see if that finally ends up coming out.
Thanks for the info, the scoop there, Ron. Appreciate hearing from you tonight.
And one other
yes, sir.
thing. I heard a couple nights ago before this happened that in the previous 20 years, there's been like 26 mass shootings. 23 of those, the shooter had no father.
Had no father?
Were not raised by a father.
But
there was no father at home.
Another interesting observation. So no dad.
I heard that on the radio a couple days ago before this happened.
Antidepressants, also very, very common among these shooters.
2-parent households
no discipline at home.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I that much I couldn't say, but I can say that 2-parent households are an indicator of a lot of good things in life. And for whatever reason, you're less and less able to say that anymore. People just don't want to hear it.
I mean, with my job, I deliver to a lot of houses. I deliver food part-time at night. And I'll go to places where they'll open the door and the kids look at you like, oh, pizza. And on the floor with them is a package of raw hot dogs and Ritz crackers. And the mom will say, shut up, that's your dinner. You got yours.
Ron, thanks for the call tonight. Appreciate hearing from you. Interesting observations, interesting suggestion. Obviously, it's hearsay, but take it for what it's worth.
Another thing is they've tried to draw correlations between having meals at home at a sort of set time. The family having dinner with a better life.
Does that happen these days?
Well, it doesn't happen. I work evenings, so it doesn't happen too much at my house. But we do have lunch together quite a bit.
Well, because your son doesn't go to a government school. He's at home.
Yeah.
So that helps.
He's homeschooled,
We continue here. Kimmy's on the line, listening in Virginia Beach to WNIS. Hello, Kimmy.
Hi, how are y'all?
Hi, good. Go ahead with your thoughts.
It's everyone wants to have someone or something to blame. We all want to make sense of a tragedy. So you always look for straws like this. It's the gun, it's the car, it's the fork. It's something else besides the person's heart that did this. And mental health has been so overlooked for so long, and personal responsibility has been overlooked for so long that I think we all want to blame something as opposed to the person that did it. And it was his choice to do this. And if anyone commits a crime, they have to make that conscious choice to do so.
Oh, obviously, this guy made the choice. I don't think anybody on this show tonight has taken that away from him.
She's just talking generally.
Sure, I'm just pointing out that I don't think we've taken that away from him.
Not exonerating this man whatsoever, or telling him, saying that it's not his fault. But the point is, it's always looking for a reason that we as society look for. Again, is it a single family household? Is it not having dinner? Is it the gun? Is it what is it that made this person do it as opposed to...
Well, I mean, anybody can snap and go crazy, but if you're on certain drugs that seem to lead to that happening, then maybe that's something
You love Bitcoin. It's the future, right? Well, no, not if everyone stops using it. I mean, think about it. How many places in your town take Bitcoin? One? None? Let's be real. If this Bitcoin thing is ever going to happen, it's going to need your help. The good news is, the guys at AnyPay have your back. We built a website called helpmetakebitcoin.com. and it's a place you can send any business. And they'll be set up to take Bitcoin in 5 minutes. HelpMeTakeBitcoin.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You dial toll-free to bring up whatever you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE. The live Saturday edition of the program. With you tonight, it's Ian.
And Mark.
And also want to make sure you know about Bitcoin.com. It's your premier source for everything Bitcoin Cash related. They can help you choose a Bitcoin Cash wallet, buy Bitcoin Cash, and show you where you can spend your Bitcoin Cash. You can read the latest news or engage with the community on their forums at Bitcoin.com. And coming up in 3 days from now, June 4th, they're going to be doing their own local Bitcoin sales sites, meaning that people can buy and sell Bitcoin Cash locally, but also online as well to people in their same geographic area or halfway across the country. Local.bitcoin.com is the new site. It's up right now, and I was shocked today to find out that their competitor, Local Bitcoins, which is the longest, probably one of the longest running Bitcoin sales sites out there. Now, they sell Bitcoin BTC at Local Bitcoins. They don't sell Bitcoin Cash. And local.bitcoin.com will only have Bitcoin Cash. So they're doing two different things. But the idea of localbitcoins.com, the original site, was that you could meet somebody in real life, give them cash, and then they would send you Bitcoin. Or the reverse. You could sell Bitcoin to somebody who would give you cash. You meet at the McDonald's parking lot or inside a restaurant or wherever it would be that people would do these things. I personally have not done those types of sales of Bitcoin, but a lot of people use localbitcoins.com for that. It's right there in the name. That's kind of like, you know, it's namesake, basically, that sort of activity. Apparently, within the last day or two, maybe, there doesn't seem to be any kind of press release about this, but localbitcoins.com has taken away the option to do local Bitcoin selling. So you can still sell online for other things like, bank account deposits or gift cards or whatever. But if you try to go and create a new, I tested it I couldn't believe it when I heard this. I tested it for myself today. My account where I had advertisements up for the Bitcoin vending machines, because I had those listed as a local option of buying
Makes
Bitcoins
sense.
here in New Hampshire. They were gone from my profile. They just weren't even there. Try to go create a new sell your Bitcoins locally. It's not even an option anymore. They've literally removed the local from localbitcoins.com right before, days before local.bitcoin.com is preparing to launch, where you will be allowed to sell Bitcoin Cash or buy Bitcoin Cash locally, and again through the other methods as well. I just thought, wow, what perfect timing for local.bitcoin.com to have this original site that they're competing with drop the main reason they existed literally hours before the local.bitcoin.com goes online.
It's stunning news.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. So kudos to Bitcoin.com for launching this thing. I know people are really excited about it. There's going to be some encryption of conversations, meaning that your conversations with the sellers and buyers are not viewable by the website. So that means that law enforcement agencies, for instance, will also not have any idea what is going on, unless, of course, you're dealing with a law enforcement agency on the other side. And there's not going to be any KYC, as they call it, know your customer requirements. So the site itself will not require identification from buyers or sellers, which is interesting. Now, sellers individually may require identification. So I've sold on local Bitcoins for a while, and I require ID because I've gotten scammed enough times. So it's a smart thing to do. But the site itself will not require that. So that's very interesting. They're doing some things very differently with local.bitcoin.com. Basically, their hands are off of it. They're not holding any funds. The site they're competing with holds funds. You have to deposit funds into a wallet there. If that site goes offline, you don't have access to your Bitcoin.
Right. Not yours. If somebody else holds it, it's not yours.
Right. So this is a big deal. Local.bitcoin.com. You can sign up for the accounts right now, and then it'll turn on completely on June 4th. Let's continue with your calls and thoughts here. We go to Arnie on the line in Scottsdale. Arnie, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hi. So my daughter was born with a rare condition where her colon is actually partially connected to her cervix. and I've taken her to at least 3 different surgeons, all of which said there's nothing we can do. And every day I can, I walk by the bathroom and I hear her in.
LRN.FM.
Hit the dump button on you there, buddy. He waited an hour to do that. That was the longest call. I had that guy on hold for more than an hour.
I think he had me there until the very moment that he dropped the S-bomb. That he had me fooled.
Oh, really? I didn't know anything about his call. I just knew that it wasn't on the topic that we were talking about, so that's why he had to wait, because I wanted all the people that had comments on the shooting to go first. But as soon as he started saying walking by the bathroom, acting as though, because my first question was going to be, well, how old is she? Because if that was a problem at birth, then it would be a problem right then, and it would be an infant. It wouldn't be something you'd leave in the bathroom. So I was automatically, as soon as he started talking about that, like, okay, this doesn't sound legit. Anyway, can't say that word on the radio, buddy. Let's continue here. Alexis is in Myrtle Beach listening to WRNN. Hello, Alexis.
Hello.
Hi, you're on the air.
How are y'all doing tonight?
Good. What's on your mind?
Yeah, y'all were talking about the lithium having to do with shootings and everything. One of my in-laws, my mother-in-law, she was actually on lithium, and she didn't shoot anybody, but she actually held my ex-husband and his girlfriend and her uncle hostage. And just knowing that, you can understand why people would think that people with bipolar or disorder would be more dangerous if they were on lithium. And why, knowing this, does the government still allow them to take lithium if they know it causes people to be erratic and unpredictable and a danger to the community?
I mean, I'm not not doubting what you're saying here or your story, but I mean, from what I read in a brief search online, it seems like a lot of people really think this stuff helps with bipolar, that it helps lessen the crazy of bipolar. And obviously, it's different for everybody.
It does in ways, for sure. I would agree with that. But if it doesn't, there's also the side that it doesn't. And things like that happen where people are put in danger.
Well, I don't know whether it's the mental health problem, the baseline mental health problem, or the drug in the case of lithium. But then again, these are the same problems with the SSRIs that we were talking about previously. Is that you're talking about people with mental health problems to begin with, and it's very difficult to know. So I'm sorry about what happened to your family.
Oh no, it happens. Things happen.
Alexa.
I also wanted to.
Yeah,
can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. Go ahead.
I also wanted to say, why do people think that it's a good idea to have no gun areas? It's like a shooting range for people.
Yeah, basically.
Crazies know that we don't have guns in certain areas, so they set up and wait for an opportunity to shoot people.
It seems so obvious to us, but I just don't. I mean, I don't know if we've had somebody call in to explain why they think a gun-free zone would work against a crazy person, why they think a gun-free zone would work against a person determined to kill innocent people. It would seem like it's exactly what you're saying, Alexis, and thank you for the call tonight, that it just allows people to shoot fish in a barrel,
I've lived in the same world as everybody else has lived in, and I can see why people are like, well, you can't have teachers having handguns at elementary schools. That's absolutely crazy. But why?
So I think what goes through people's minds is, they would imagine the teacher leaving a gun on the desk, the front of the room, and some brat comes up and grabs it.
Right? I mean, these things happen.
It doesn't happen because most teachers don't have guns, and hopefully most of them that do have guns would be carrying them on their person. It would be highly, irresponsible to just leave it out on a desk. It could happen, but I don't think we've ever heard of any stories where that has happened.
No, but we have heard of stories of law enforcement officers leaving their guns in bathrooms and things like that.
Yeah, at airports and things like that.
So these things happen.
Yeah, that does happen. Toll-free number here.
There's more law enforcement officers with guns than there are teacher with guns. So.
That's true. 855-450-FREE. Unless you're in Texarkana, apparently their teachers are armed, according to one of our callers earlier, which is very interesting. More on the way here at 855-450-FREE. You can join us here on Free Talk Live Saturday show. This is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up anything that you want. Our toll-free number here, 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Hey, if you appreciate the work that we do here on Free Talk Live, if you want to help us out, the AMP program is there for you, and Jake Leonard has decided to amp the show, and has been for quite a while, as a gold amplifier, which means he's doing $10 a month. You can do 5. All we ask is 5, but certainly appreciate people who want to do more. We won't stop you. So go to amp.freetalklive.com. You can get signed up there. It makes a big difference for us when you do that. We certainly appreciate it. It's going to be some of the money is actually going to go to send us to New York City at the end of this week, Mark. That's coming up fast, where we will be schmoozing it up with the talk radio bigwigs at the Talkers New Media Seminar.
Right. So Saturday's the end of the week, so it's end of next week.
Some people think the week starts. Oh, you're right. It's Saturday. I was thinking it was Sunday for some reason.
Nope.
Yeah. So next Saturday, well, it'll be over. It'll be this coming Friday, basically, that we're going to be there. And so it's listeners like you that become amplifiers that help make that possible. We've been going to that convention since 2005.
Really?
It's been almost 15 years that we've been at that convention. And it's a good one. It's a good one because we get to, see the movers and the shakers, and they get to see us, and that's kind of important. It's a small business, and if you're not there, then you're kind of not there, and that's not, you're not anybody, I guess, if you're not at the Talkers convention, unless you're too big to go to Talkers like some of these talk shows.
We've been steadily moving up the ranks of most what number the numbered ranks of shows since we've been going. So I guess you could correlate the data that going is giving us a higher profile? I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely gives us a higher profile. And so thank you to our Free Talk Live amplifiers like Jake Leonard for making that possible at amp.freetalklive.com. And yes, we do take PayPal, credit card, and Bitcoin BTC at ampamp.freetalklive.com. To the phones and to the fun. We got Lori. She's in Virginia Beach listening to WNIS. Hello, Lori.
Yes.
Hi. You're on the air.
I'm calling in. There's a couple things going on there. I really feel like the First Lady mentioned before that the government shouldn't be allowing drugs that involve SSRIs. They go in the brain, they rearrange the chemicals. I think that the lithiums work with sodium are much less damaging.
Mm-hmm.
And VA is labeling everyone as bipolar now.
The VA?
So, yeah.
The Veterans Administration?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's a very common diagnosis.
Huh.
Even it's increasing among males. And I do believe that everyone should be armed. I think that they want to eliminate those people having arms that should have them, say, hire vets. Well, they label them as borderline and have PTSD, so they're not the ones that get the weapons. So,
Well, this guy, by the way, the shooter, was in the military. He was part of the National Guard.
Yes, and I'm a veteran myself. And I also think that there's not mental health being given. You just have a bad mix. You have a person that's home alone dealing with a situation, and then you put bad drugs on top of it.
Mm.
And I just think you have the recipe for a problem.
You might be right.
Well, I've been around somebody who's manic, in the manic states of bipolar, and the last thing I would want them to have had was a gun. They were a mess.
Yes.
Yeah, but Mark, you open up a Pandora's box when you start saying who should and who shouldn't be able to have a gun.
I know. That's the real issue here, is once you let the government determine who's not mentally capable of handling a gun,
that list is going to start getting longer.
It's going to be very, very soon before only the people who are currently working for us are the ones that are allowed to have guns.
Well, this guy was working for them.
Yes, but he was a vet.
And if you recall, Anthony Bourdain, those suicides, I believe that they may have been linked to the SSRIs, which flush out serotonin. People dump this stuff down the toilet.
Well, now, wait a minute. Bourdain, I didn't know about him until actually I went to Japan. This is a very, I guess, successful chef who had his own CNN television show where he, traveled around the world.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Yeah, He was really good. Like, he was a really good host, really interesting show. The reason I found out about it was because Singularity in our Discord chat posted a link to where he went to Tokyo, because I was actually in Tokyo, and I watched this while I was there. Ended up actually going by the crazy robot restaurant thing that he was at in the video that he did. It was an interesting video and well presented. But when I searched for him, I found out that he'd killed himself, and I think he hung himself. Actually, was how he did it. But the weird thing was, in that very episode, he made a joke about suicide, and apparently he was kind of obsessed with suicide, according to one of his girlfriends. So I don't think that was a surprise for a lot of people. It was something he was kind of into. So it suggests long-term depression or whatever it is that was going on with him. Lori, good call. Thanks for sharing tonight. I appreciate it. Yep. Toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE like freedom. Robert in Texarkana. What do you know? People have strong feelings about guns and drugs.
It turns out.
Free Talk Live. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, I just had a little comment here about, when there's a bombing, we all blame the bomber.
Mm-hmm.
When there's a drunk driving accident, we blame the driver. Why, when there's a shooting, do Democrats blame the gun while sane people blame the shooter?
I don't know if any Democrats have called in tonight, so I don't know if we can, answer that question. But it's a good question.
Well, I would say this about bombing: after the Oklahoma City bombing, they did make it harder to get certain types of fertilizers and that sort of thing. So, and also TNT isn't as easy to get as, say, when I was a kid, and certainly not as easy to get as when my dad was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have made it harder and harder to get bomb-making materials.
Yeah, but now the internet can make it easier and easier to get bomb-making instructions.
Yeah, I haven't looked that up.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, everybody blames the person that does it, the crime, like the bomber or the driver, except for when it comes to the gun. And then there's a big part of the country now that's saying, oh, well, we need to regulate these guns instead of regulating the people or whatever.
Yep, and that'll never, of course, change anything, because it'll only make it so fewer law-abiding people have guns.
Exactly.
And the crazy lunatics and the gangsters will, of course, still get whatever it is they're looking to get. Or even, as we've seen in other countries like the UK, for instance, where they have banned guns. Well, then, of course, people are just stabbing people to death, so now they're trying to ban knives over there, and, of course, that's not going to solve the problem either.
Soon it'll be forks and spoons.
Robert, thanks for the call tonight, man. I appreciate hearing from you. Good points. We continue here. And I still, if
by the looks of it, just about every Democratic candidate wants to see the guns banned.
They're that's their base. They're
that's
pandering.
The talking point, yeah.
They're pandering to their base. In fact, you've got an email from a Marianne Williamson, who is apparently one of those Democratic candidates, of a 7-point plan. We touched on point number 1. We'll get to the other 6 here, hopefully. But first, we go to Donald in Virginia Beach, listening to WNIS. Hello, Donald.
Hey, how y'all guys doing?
Good. You're on the air.
All right, thanks. I just wanted to call in and, speak upon the shooting here. I'm actually live about 2 miles from where all this happened, and a friend of mine actually knew the shooter. And
really?
I guess everybody has their own speculations. And first of all, the guy was actually the only thing this guy took was actually vitamins. I mean, there's no...
Okay.
I have met the shooter once. I'm not going to mention his name, and I'm not going to go into that. He wasn't a friend of mine, but I knew him, and he's it's one of those things. People are speculating on he was, depressed and everything, but you never know it. It's like just there's actually no medication involved in this at all.
So there was a caller earlier who said, now again, this is all hearsay, right? We don't know what the real truth is, but a caller earlier said that he knew somebody who worked with him at the bureaucracy at the government building, and that the claim was that he was going to get fired, and that maybe he had caught wind of his potential firing and went off.
Well, I could tell you there's no truth in that at all.
Really?
His work ethic was outstanding. I mean, it's just You know,
you don't normally hear that about bureaucrats.
We'll never really know what drove him to that, but no, his job was not in jeopardy at all.
Okay.
And he was real liked. I mean, he didn't have nobody seems to know what happened. He didn't have an enemy. He was a great person. I mean, showed up to work, friendly. I mean, it's just...
Well, time will tell, and it is possible. I mean, you never know what kind of evidence he left at his house or whatever. So, we're just getting... We don't know all the details on this.
The media will create some narrative.
And we will never know. Now that he's gone, we'll really never know. But thanks. All I can say is anybody out there, just say some prayers for the family. That was a lot of people.
Donald, thank you for the call tonight. Appreciate it. There's more coming up here. Hour 3's next. Free Talk.
Would you like to hang out with Penn Jillette? He's keynoting Freedom Fest this year. I, for one, am thrilled. Freedom Fest is the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. They take a Big Ten approach with libertarians, conservatives, liberals, anarchists, capitalists, and just open-minded people mingling together to hear real debates, share real solutions, and converse freely. This year's theme is the Wild West, a time of liberty and opportunity, or a time of anarchy and violence. Maybe both. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and get your tickets now. freedomfest.com/FTL. Not convinced yet? Hey, I understand. It's a high-end event. Even with coupon code FTL50. Sure, you're likely to receive investment advice that'll make that sum seem paltry, but I have something special for you. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and you'll get the 5 best speeches from last year for free. Call it a test drive. Do yourself a favor and go to freedomfest.com/FTL. freedomfest.com/FTL. Use coupon code FTL50 for a discount.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can take control of the airwaves here. Bring up whatever's on your mind. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. Coming up, the 7-point plan, which I'm sure, I haven't read the plan, but I'm just going to guess we've heard all the points before in some form or another from various Democratic candidates. But one of those Democratic candidates for president has a 7-point plan of what she wants to do about guns in the wake of the most recent shooting there in Virginia Beach. With you tonight, by the way, it's Ian.
And Mark. Expect one of these plans, somebody to roll out these plans every time there's one of these tragedies.
Sure, because they are using these tragedies as a political football to try to score points with voters. I mean, that's what they're doing here. They're sociopaths. And I'm not just talking about just the Democrats. All politicians, for the most part, are sociopaths, and they're sick people. Let's go to
they will all use incidences to
benefit themselves.
Themselves.
So let's go to your calls and thoughts here. We have Tom in Hudson, New Hampshire. Tom, you're on Free Talk Live. Of course, you could argue that we're doing the same thing. But go ahead, Tom.
It's about the abortion laws that some states are imposing. They're much more strict than what is consistent with the Supreme Court ruling Roe versus Wade. And I have a better idea that is both pro-life and pro-choice at the same time.
Well, this should be interesting. All right.
Okay, well, the song Papa Don't Preach, the pregnant girl's choice is to have a baby. Okay, that is her choice, and it is the pro-life option as well. But, of course, in some households, it's like, in this house, you will do as you're told. What did you think you were going to do? Disgrace this family with an illegitimate child? You're going to the clinic tomorrow, and that's all there is to it. And if she runs away from California to New York, the cops will simply return her back to California, and the baby will be murdered. But let's say one of these states like Arkansas, for example, simply says, okay, we're no longer going to do that. Okay, as soon as she crosses the double yellow line on State Line Avenue in Texarkana and enters the state of Arkansas. You know, the saying, those lines on the map mean a lot to bureaucrats. And she's under Arkansas law, and no, they're not going to send her back to California. They're going to put her in a foster home, and the baby is going to survive. And if her parents never get to see their grandchild, it serves them right.
Well, I think it's a solution that they certainly could offer. And I think it would be a better return salvo than when Alabama sort of, basically outlaws almost all abortions versus New York, which basically says that a baby can be hanging a half out the birth canal and then they can lop its head off. I think that at this point we're just talking about politics, and I think that would be an interesting salvo in the whole right to life war.
You know what else? Okay, you've got an abundance of snob zoning restrictions that make it outrageously expensive to have an apartment, and they also contribute greatly to the unemployment level in many areas where there aren't enough jobs. Abolishing the zoning restrictions that apply to residential, that is, apartment houses and stuff, would immediately produce an abundance of new jobs in demolition and construction, pushing wages on all sectors upward, because those other sectors of the economy, of those other industries, would have to compete for workers with the construction and demolition industry. So now you got people with more money, and they would get to spend less of it on rent, because, if she doesn't have a car, why does she need to pay for the parking lot that the city requires for the apartment house?
Well, plus without zoning and government regulations on building and contractors and all that, then prices would go down of housing structures. Absolutely. And so therefore rents would go down. People would be able to better afford. Younger people would be able to better afford, who, by the way, are poorer than ever. There's another study in the news showing that millennials are worth like $8,000 on average at this point, which apparently is a record low.
Not the people, their assets.
It's because of, not just the zoning restrictions, which are nothing more than documents. It's that the cops will go out there and force you to comply with them. And so remember that most abortions are the fault of cops.
Huh?
Yeah, they enforce the zoning restrictions that make it tough to keep a baby and raise a baby, and that it pushes more pregnant girls to have abortions.
Thanks for the call tonight, Tom. Appreciate hearing from you. Another aspect, to that point would be that young people are not, in some places, able to emancipate themselves from a bad home. So if they're stuck in an abusive home, then and they want to leave. If they're old enough to work, if they're old enough to, and that's another thing, working restrictions also prohibit young people, teenagers, from having a job in a lot of cases, or having a job that is on the same level as their coworkers, because their government rules force them to have a certain number of breaks, and they can't work a certain number of hours, and they can't work during the school week in some places, and there's all kinds of rules and restrictions. Just, people should be free to work as much as they want to work, as much as somebody's willing to hire them to work. And if we had more people, in the marketplace, that would, of course, also be a better supplier of labor. And then, we might see prices go down because of that as well. Who knows? So if you want to join us here, you can. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Nathan is in Lynchburg, Virginia, listening to WLNI. Hello, Nathan.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good. You're on the air.
Hey, I want to talk about Netflix.
Okay.
Their little statement, their little political statement that they came out with. Are they?
What is that? I'm not familiar with this statement.
Are they stupid or something?
You're going to have to tell us about what the statement is, because I don't know what it is. I'm sure many of our listeners.
The statement was made by one of the heads of Netflix. Made a public statement that they will no longer do business in the state of Georgia. As long as the state of Georgia keeps pushing their anti-abortion bills and everything else.
Wow, so they've taken a political stance against an entire state government and all the people within it?
Exactly, sir.
Wow.
And while at the same time they're willing to do filming in places like Croatia and a variety of Eastern European countries that have laws against abortion that's, even as draconian, if not more. So whatever.
Laws against gay people in Russia or whatever, right?
Right. So
maybe some Middle Eastern countries where they throw them off the roofs, for instance.
That's a great point. That's disappointing to hear. That Netflix is taking a political stance like that. It's going to lose them subscribers for sure. Because some people are.
Yeah, well, I called Netflix and I talked to a guy and he said, "Excuse me, give me 1 second," and he left the phone and he came back with this political statement that he read.
Huh.
And I was just shocked to hear, and I said, "Well, I don't subscribe to those views. I believe that it's murder." And he said, "Well, I'll email you a cancellation." immediately.
Wow.
I said, well, go ahead and email it to me, because I'm not going to give my $11 a month to...
Is that what it is now?
Why would Netflix have to do this, dude? I like Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, they make some good shows, no doubt.
Yes, they do. But you know what? You know what's more important than my entertainment?
Yeah.
Is the Holocaust that's been happening in America that needs to come to an end.
Well, now, wait a minute. What do you mean? You're calling abortions a Holocaust?
Abortion.
Well, what do you want to do? Do you want to outlaw it and start, force women to go into back alley abortion clinics and end up dead?
Sir, there's Canada and Mexico for abortions if women are hard up for that. But at the end of the day, it's not women's rights. It's the right of a human being to live, to give it a chance. If we need to create more government programs, yes, taxpayers' money, I'd be glad to pay a tax for it, for women to have a baby. And they don't even have to keep it.
That's true. They could
we
give it
have
up
to
for
start
abortion,
a government agency for adoption.
Oh, that's just what we need, more government.
But no, I think adoptions can be handled fine through private organizations.
I absolutely agree with you, but worst case scenario, to make sure that the woman who got pregnant will at least conceive the baby, and if it's able to be conceived.
So you're okay if somebody has an abortion if it's in Canada or Mexico. You just don't want it happening in an arbitrary political jurisdiction near you?
I'm not okay with abortion worldwide, but where I live and where I'm responsible and where my freedom.
So you're willing to go to war with your neighbors over it, but you're not willing to go to war with Canada or Mexico?
I'm not talking about going to war.
Well, let me tell you what happens when you outlaw things. You then have the police target people for breaking laws, and they will use violence against those folks. It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything that you want here. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We have the Discord on-air call-in line rooms, and they're open and available to you if you want to join our Discord server. You can do that. People are chatting in there throughout the show, before and after, basically around the clock, about a variety of different subjects. There are different chat rooms on that server, and it's free, so head over to discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm. And also want to make sure that you know about the best cryptocurrency wallet, my favorite cryptocurrency wallet. It's Edge Wallet, which you can download for free. It's iOS, it's Android, your choice. Whatever phone you got, iOS, Android, it works for you. And in fact, it works very, very well. That's why I use it more than any other.
Same here.
Was using it more than any other prior to them becoming a sponsor. I think that's important to point out. The reason why they're sponsoring Free Talk Live is because we're fans of Edge Wallet, and we know those guys. We've been to enough crypto conferences and talked to them over many years now. I think we were talking to them way back when they were programming the Airbits wallet, which was their Bitcoin-only predecessor that they started building way back in 2014. And in Bitcoin terms, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, that's eons.
So these guys are a veteran team over there at Edge, and you can go to edge.app to learn more about how you can secure your freedom and buy, sell, trade, and securely hold your cryptocurrencies. I hooked up a bartender today. I was over having some breakfast at the Thirsty Owl here in town, which is a bar that takes crypto, and they've actually got some pretty good food. Young guy, college
kind of
age.
A bar and diner.
Yeah.
Bar
and deli, diner, whatever. College age guy behind the bar, and he didn't really know a whole lot about cryptocurrency. He said his dad was into it, which is interesting. He didn't know much, but I said, "Hey man, why don't you get a wallet? I'll give you a cash tip, but why don't you get a wallet hooked up and I'll give you some cryptocurrency." And he was like, "That's okay." But the owner was there, and he was like, "Yeah, you ought to get some of this."
Yeah,
and then
Don't be an idiot.
That changed his mind, and so hooked him up with Edge Wallet, and boom, he was. I mean, in moments, he was ready to roll. Like he downloaded the thing and set it up before I'd even had the chance to tell him how to do it. So it's not hard to do this at all. Go to edge.app and get your copy of Edge Wallet and get started in the world of cryptocurrency. Or if you're old school in crypto, you really like it because it's super easy to use. I'm a big fan.
Pretty much holds all the major cryptos.
Yeah, and then some. So, and I found out, by the way, there's a feature about Edge Wallet. There's a few months ago there was a schism, another one of these hard fork splits with cryptos, as happens from time to time. It was Bitcoin Cash schismed into Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV. So now there's two competing forms of that.
BCH ABC too.
No, that's what they were referring to Bitcoin Cash as.
All right, I'll take your word for it.
But on Edge Wallet, if you had Bitcoin Cash before that split happened, which was I think mid-November of 2018, and you haven't gotten your Bitcoin SV out of that, Edge Wallet makes it easy. All you have to do is hit the 3 dots next to Bitcoin Cash, and then there's an option that says like split SV or split off SV. Just hit that button and then wait like a minute. It'll create a Bitcoin SV wallet for you, and then ding, ding, ding. You get your free Bitcoin SV in that wallet.
Just that fast.
Yeah, I hadn't done it. I didn't know that it was a thing. I didn't even think about that, and then I saw that yesterday. I'm like, oh, let's see what happens. Oh, there's a 0.3 Bitcoin SV, $60 worth right there.
A little gift.
Yeah, pretty cool. Let's continue here. Your calls and thoughts. You bring up what you want. Then we've got the 7-point plan from this politician, Marianne Williamson.
Well, she's not a politician. She's just running for president.
That makes her a politician.
She's an author. All right.
By definition, if you run for political office, you are a politician. Let's go to Sarah in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Sarah.
Yes. How about this? The Kentucky Fried Chicken?
Yeah.
I'm familiar with Kentucky Fried Chicken, yes.
So how about meatless chicken from the Kentucky Fried Chicken?
No, they're not doing that, are they?
No, they have been doing that in the United Kingdom already.
Huh.
And they have been serving vegetable patties with...
What is this world coming to? Sure enough, according to Veg News, also USA Today, CNN, KFC is looking into plant-based chicken alternatives.
I hear they're going to get better. They're getting better and better, and I hear that they're getting to the point where you're going to have difficult time
telling the difference.
And
what?
Well, at some point, if we presume that technology is going to get better as time goes by, then yeah. I mean, when you're talking about a cutlet, you know what a cutlet is, Ian?
Piece of chicken?
No, it's a piece of meat that has been grounded up and smashed into a shape and then breaded.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Now, when you're talking about a cutlet versus some kind of vegetable thing that looks like a cutlet, really, what's the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Still ground up bits.
So it has been doing well in the United Kingdom, so it's coming our way.
Interesting.
Into America here. But
I got to say, every now and then, Sarah, you bring up some headlines that I find to be, very unusual, very interesting, and I did not know about this. So thanks for bringing it to the table.
I wonder if fake pork is a problem for Muslims and Jews. I wonder if fake beef is a problem for Indians.
I don't know. Probably not.
If it's a fake imitation pork, it's not.
It's not real pork.
So why would they have a problem with it?
I don't think that they would. I mean, maybe there are some. Maybe there are some who. Well, if it's intended to look like pork, then it's we won't eat it. But I suspect many of them would be happy to try it. Sarah, thanks for calling tonight. Thanks for bringing that up. The toll free number here is 855-450-FREE. So the 7-point plan, Mark, you've got this email that came in from a politician, and I asked you, why did you get this email from this politician?
The reason I got the email from Marianne Williamson is my wife and I donated $5 to her campaign.
What were you thinking?
Apparently, at this point, politicians in the Democratic, to get into the debates, they need a certain number of donations. Not large donations, just a certain number. So $1 would have done it. 5 was the bottom option there, and it was easier than writing.
But why would you donate money to somebody with whom you presumably have significant disagreements? I mean, I've never heard of you backing a Democratic candidate.
Her position on foreign policy is better than most of the Democrats, and
why not give Bernie Sanders $5?
He doesn't take much of a stand on foreign policy issues.
Oh, really? I'd heard he was better on war than some of them. I don't pay any attention to these people, so I have no idea.
The reason that I did it was because I think that there needs to be more voices in the primary than there currently are. I'm sick of this Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders, it's battle of the geriatrics at the nursing home. They're going to have crutches and the wheelchairs, and they're going at each other like jousting, right? Like, this is awful. This is awful. And I do not want another repeat of 2016 where we have just the candidates that people dislike the most are the ones that are running again. So
that's what you're going to get.
The field,
just guarantee you.
Well, I don't care.
Throw as much money at them as you want.
I'm not. I threw $5 at Marianne Williamson which is not enough to buy coffee for a full day for one of her offices in one place, okay? And $1 to Mike Gravel.
Oh, is he in again?
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, he just wants to get into the debates. He doesn't want to win.
Okay. More coming up here. She's got a 7-point plan on guns, so I don't know how you're feeling now after you've read this.
Ian, it was thrown away. It's $5. I mean, I've lost more than that in a washing machine at one time.
Yeah, but you're giving it to a politician. More. I mean, it's one thing it's Ron Paul, but my God. All right, more coming up here.
I do not feel bad.
450 free.
No
That's
shame.
855-450-3733. You can take control here on Free Talk Live.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
It's Free Talk Live, and it is the live Saturday edition of the program. We got the 7-point plan here, which I'm sure will be ridiculous and authoritarian, to supposedly stop gun violence from one of these presidential candidates. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We'll get into that here in a moment. Also, coming up in 2 weeks from today, we will be at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. June 13th through the 18th, it's ForkFest 2019. And this is going to be a great year for ForkFest, I think. There's more buzz about this year's ForkFest than previous ones. It's only year number 3, mind you. So, year number 1, it was like a few dozen people. Year number 2, I'd say it hit 100. That's my estimate. Now, again, we don't have ticket sales because ForkFest is a decentralized libertarian camping event. All we know is what we can observe, the relative experience that we've all had there. And I'm not counting Jay Noon's wedding, which brought another 150 people.
Yeah.
Because some of those people stayed, some of them were just there for the wedding. So I think we definitely crossed 100 if you don't count the wedding last year. And this year, early indicators are suggesting it's going to be much bigger. Ernie Hancock is coming this year from Declare Your Independence. He's another talk show host on the Liberty Radio Network. And he was so excited about ForkFest this year that he's made T-shirts and took 130 pre-orders for T-shirts. Now, somebody might have ordered more than one per order, so that's not necessarily 130 different people. But still, to sell 130 T-shirts in advance of an event like this is a really good sign. So that's exciting. We've got people that are putting together their own events, which is kind of the point of ForkFest. It's decentralized. There's no organizer except every single individual that is going to attend. You organize yourself. You organize your own campsite. What do you want to do? You want to just show up and hang out with other like-minded, liberty-oriented folks for a week? Or 5 days in this case? It's something you can do. You can also create an event. Maybe you're a musician. Maybe you like musicians. Maybe you've got equipment. You want them to, play some music on your campsite. That's cool. Put up a stage or bring an amp or whatever. Bring your instruments. Maybe you want to do a poker game. Bring the poker table. Whatever you need to deal cards. Whatever you think you want to do, whatever you think other people will enjoy, there probably will be people there who would enjoy it, will be my guess. Now, we know things are scheduled for sure, like the folks from AnyPay.Global are going to be throwing basically raves every single night. They're going to also put on the big gay dance party for the first time in 3 years? 4 years? It's been a while. Last one was in 2015 at the Porcupine Freedom Festival. So they're bringing it back this year for the first time in years, so that's exciting. Jay Noon, our Wednesday night co-host, is doing Man Camp, and that's going to be for young folks.
Well, anybody who wants to learn to forge and do a variety of tasks.
Manly things.
Yeah, manly things.
So that's exciting. And then, of course, Alt Expo is going to be there. And I think they're going to be kind of like the speaker's tent. There's going to be lots of different presentations on different topics that are going to be happening there. So all this stuff happening without any central organizer saying, do this, do that, we want this, we want... No, it's just whatever people want to do. It's very cool.
It can be done.
It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Of course, we're going to be there broadcasting as well every single day from the event. So we'll look forward to seeing you June 13th through the 18th. It's not too late to come up. It's not going to be sold out. This campground can hold 3,000 plus people. So we'll be lucky if we hit 10% of that. But there's going to be people cooking this time around, more so than last year, and I think it's going to be a good one.
It's bigger every year.
Yeah, the other ones were good too, but this is going to be better, I suspect. Go to forkfest.party. That's the unofficial website. That links you to the Forkfest forum and the Forkfest Telegram chat. Forkfest.party. Coming up in less than 2 weeks is the starting date. We can go to more of your calls and thoughts, and then hopefully we'll get into the 7-point plan. Sam in Virginia, listening to WLNI in Lynchburg. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the abortion stuff.
Okay.
There's been 61 million abortions in our country since 1970. Almost 20 million of those were black women that had abortions. And the woman's right thing, I do believe in certain cases, like rape, incest, the mother's health, or the baby would be so deformed it wouldn't have a good life.
How about just a mom that doesn't want to take care of a kid? I mean, do you really want to have a child born to a mother that doesn't want it?
If there's nothing wrong with the baby, yes, I do want that.
Do you
baby
really want to put that
born.
baby in a foster home where it could be abused by government lackeys?
Well, you are you trying to say it's a woman's right?
Well, of course I would say that.
I would not say that. I do not think it's the woman's right.
I do.
But I will say that prisons are chock full of unwanted kids.
Well, I mean, most of these women are protesting against abortion. They're claiming it's a woman's right. Did you ever stop to think, would anybody stop to think that half of these babies they're killing are women?
Well, they're not babies; they're fetuses. But regardless,
it's a human life. If you check its DNA, it's human.
Yeah. Hasn't really had a life yet, though.
It's a group called Survivors. A lady named Claire Caldwell and Melissa Oden. You listen to their story, and you'll change your mind.
No,
I
won't.
They were both aborted. They were both aborted and left on a table to die in a room by herself. And a nurse just happened to walk in, and her conscience wouldn't let her just let them lay there and die. Mm-hmm. And you listen to these women, the great work they're doing. They were both aborted.
Sure.
I have a grandson. That was going to be an abortion if my son and my daughter-in-law didn't pay this woman ungodly amount of money to carry this child to petition because they couldn't have one.
Oh, it's some kind of
just because a woman.
How much time should someone go to prison for having an abortion?
Oh, they're in prison for the rest of their life. You think they don't pay for that?
Oh, right. I agree with you. That I think
some of them seem really happy about their abortions.
Well, I think for a lot of them, it's very difficult. The ones that I've known who've made that decision, it has weighed on their conscience. It has not been an easy choice to make. They have not been jubilant about it. I'm not saying there wouldn't be somebody who is jubilant about it, but for the most part, I think it's a very, very hard choice to make. So what you're saying is it's its own punishment, and they shouldn't go to prison then?
No, I don't think they should go to prison.
Okay, thank goodness. Because a lot of people, when they say they want to outlaw abortion, that usually means putting people in prison, right?
Well, I think they should make it illegal for a doctor to do it. I mean,
okay. So how long should the doctor go to prison for?
Well, he's going to go to hell, but that's where he's going to go.
Okay, but are you saying that if it's illegal, that there shouldn't be a prison sentence for the doctor?
Sir, I said at the beginning, there are certain instances where I think it should be permitted.
Mm-hmm. No, but we're talking about in an instance where a woman just decides she doesn't want to have a baby, and she goes and has a doctor perform that, or anybody, because if you make it illegal, then it'll just be gangsters performing abortions in back alleys or whatever dirty location that they would perform.
I don't want my son when he's 10 years old. Can I just kill him?
Well, now that seems pretty ridiculous. I think most people would say that is wrong because your son obviously has his own volition by that point in life.
Oh, I'd take that position. Let's go ahead and take that position because here's what I'm going to say. I think it's the ending of a human life, and I'm willing to say it is not a right to kill somebody. However, if you decide to kill your son's
somebody. A fetus isn't somebody.
I'm not going to take that particular position, Ian.
I am though.
But at the moment of conception, it's a life, buddy.
If you, I did not claim otherwise. If you kill your son, who's the biggest victim?
I would never kill my son.
I'm just asking a question here. You're the one who brought up the scenario.
Well, because you're saying it's all right to kill a living being.
You're hearing two different people.
There's two people on the show, dude.
One of us says that the ending of a human life, that abortion is the ending of human life. The other one does not. I, however, say that, look, the problem, I say it's the ending of human life. However, you're talking about a bunch of unwanted people, and prisons are full of unwanted people. And what you're saying when you're talking about protecting life and all that stuff, I mean, America's full of 300 million lives. One of the problems that we have on this planet is too many lives. And the last lives I want is lives that are raised by people who didn't want them.
Thanks for the call, Sam. Toll-free number. Appreciate it. I think 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. All right, I hope we can get to these 7 points by this.
I should have been giving one every segment.
Politician. Yeah, but the problem is we still don't really have a chance to pick it apart because I want to get to the calls if we've got calls. Well, and right now we don't, so that's okay. 855-450-FREE. I know you're not supposed to say that on Talk Radio, but we do things you're not supposed to do on Talk Radio all the time. It's Free Talk Live. It's Free Talk Live. Moments remain. Enough time here, perhaps, for you. If you dial in now, our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. We got this 7-point plan, and we're going to do it. We're not going to do the plan. We're going to share it with you. It's probably a god-awful mess of a plan full of socialist claptrap nonsense and authoritarianism. I have not read it, Mark, but you have. It was sent to you in your email box by Marianne Williamson. Probably one of her staffers would be my guess.
Yeah, probably not her.
She is a presidential candidate who I've never heard of before tonight. So tell me more about this, Mark. And also, I do want to remind you about freetalklive.com, where we've got a lot of features. And one of those features is archives that go back for years. You can download them at your leisure at freetalklive.com.
Yeah, so Marianne Williamson, she's kind of Oprah's gal.
Okay.
Oprah picks somebody that she likes every go-around.
I see.
This is her gal. And anyway, her 7-point plan is, number one, require universal background checks of all gun purchases, whether purchases occur online, at gun show events, at licensed dealer locations.
We'll make sure the Crips and the Bloods get right on that.
Right. So that's the argument that if you outlaw guns, then only outlaws have guns.
And they're not going to do your background checks.
600 million guns in this country, and background checks aren't going to prevent the vast majority of people that want a gun from getting one. I'm a convicted felon. I cannot legally own one. I suspect I could get a gun if I desperately needed it by the end of the night.
I suspect you could.
So, there you go. That's going to fail. It's a bad idea. Hopefully, if somebody who were going to provide me with a gun would check on me and see why I would want this. Well, what's wrong, Mark? What's the problem? What do you need a gun for? And then at the very least, I'd have to tell them a lie, right?
You just knock them over the head.
I suppose you could do that. I don't intend to knock anybody over the head. I didn't think of that option, but you're right. You could.
That's because you're not a criminal anymore.
Well, point 2 or B or whatever you want to call it, close existing loopholes that allow violent people and domestic abusers the right to purchase a firearm or weapon. Okay. Now, first off, who are these violent people that are getting guns? Are we talking about convicted felons? Because it's already illegal for them to have it.
Mm-hmm.
Are we talking about domestic abusers? Okay, so in many states, domestic abuse will just that charge will make it so that you can the conviction, will make it so you can no longer have a weapon.
But they're starting to take it away before conviction.
Right. Now we're doing it when people are accused. And that's
bad.
Not the way 1,000 years of jurisprudence works.
Yeah, that's very
You
scary.
don't get to accuse somebody of something and then do things to them as a result.
But
that's
they do.
Wrong.
They do.
If so, then I'm just going to go ahead and accuse everybody of a whole bunch of stuff. And we'll just see how it works out.
You're not the government goons, so it doesn't work when you do it. You don't have a team of men with guns behind you that are enacting your every word, like judges.
There you go. Number 3, renew the assault weapons ban. Well,
this expired under Barack Obama, if I recall correctly.
I thought it was before that. I thought it was under Bush.
No.
Are you saying that Obama would not have reinstated it?
He didn't.
Okay. Well,
I mean, he may have if the Congress did something, but
Well, maybe parts of it sunsetted under different folks. Okay. Anyway, the assault weapons ban really doesn't have anything to do with this guy who killed people with .45 caliber handguns. So this is just the same old talking points that get trotted out every single time. They're a little tired. Let's not forget that the assault weapons ban was basically a ban on rifles that were painted black because they're scary. Not, like Woodstocks, they do the same thing. D, create a federal red flag law prohibiting suspicious individuals as identified by law enforcement from purchasing a gun for a year.
So just because law enforcement thinks you're suspicious now.
Right. Well, more, and then can they just do it again?
Mm-hmm. And again.
Can federal can law enforcement just continually call you suspicious and prevent you from getting a gun? I mean, they hold no responsibility if you're murdered in that period of time. If some home invader comes into your home and kills your kids and destroys the place and leaves you crippled and your wife with a bullet in her head, they don't have any responsibility for that. Remember, when seconds count, the police are just minutes away.
I must be off by a decade. Apparently, it was 2004 when the assault weapons ban expired. I thought it was under Obama for some reason.
Anyway, going on. Provide federal support for added school security.
More security, more fences, more barbed wire, more metal detectors. Didn't we see a study a few years ago that showed that the more security apparatus a school had, the more violent the school was? Like, after the fact that they installed the security, it got more violent?
What was that experiment where they made the college students into prison guards and prisoners?
Stanford Prison Experiment.
Stanford Prison Experiment. It's kind of like we're doing that on a national level with high school students. We're putting them in places that look remarkably like prisons.
And expecting them to work, act like
remarkably
students.
like prisoners.
Right.
And then expecting them to not act like prisoners.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Here's a way to break it up. Stop having these big institutions. Stop having this place where all these people are collected.
Sure.
On a day-in, day-out basis. Stop educating all kids the same way as though a one-size-fit-all education actually works. Stop pretending that these government schools are a solution to anything but middle-class welfare babysitting day prison.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's your solution. Stop trying to, we're going to shave the edges off this square peg and we're going to pound it through this hole. Well, that's not your solution.
Well, but they want to have these schools because it's important for indoctrination purposes. It's important
Speaking
for the
of which,
government.
Point F, provide federal support for national nonviolence curriculum. So, now, I'm not saying that nonviolence is a bad idea. Nonviolence is a credo by which I live.
No doubt, but the government goons are not the people to teach nonviolence.
The people who have claimed for themselves a monopoly on violence.
Yeah.
That's what a nation state is.
That's right.
Is who Ms. Williamson wants to have, create the curriculum. Yeah. Who's going to create this curriculum? Do we want to have the NRA create the curriculum?
That ain't happening.
Oh, are we going to have the National Board of Education created? Or is it going to be Betsy DeVos?
It'll be
a group of Donald Trump.
It'll be a group of politically selected politicos.
And that's the problem. Is every 8 years you get a new set of these liars and thieves in there, and somehow you think turning this over to the federal government is a solution. It's not.
Mm-mm.
It's not. When Ms. Williamson takes her really good ideas on how to live life, and she has really good ideas, and then she's great. She's awesome. She's an awesome author. She writes empowering stuff. I think she's wonderful. And then she attempts to shove that stuff top down everybody's throat. It just isn't going to work.
That's when your ideas get broken, when you try to institutionalize them. try to force them against, people's will.
Right, and I have more nice things to say about Ms. Williamson than I do about the vast majority of people in the Democratic field, but I don't have anything nice to say about this email.
And how many we got left here?
We got one
more.
Increase federal support for counseling and support systems for victims of gun violence.
So more taxes, more government programs.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, I guess, psychological talking tos or something like that, I guess is what we're talking about.
This is just federal funding is what she's talking about. More funding for, guidance counselors or whatever.
Right. When school shootings have happened around the country, then the local school here provides counselors to talk to students. It's the craziest thing. Like, nothing happened. And nothing happened to you.
Yeah.
You need a counselor. Is this just a make-work program for counselors?
Sounds like it.
Maybe they need it. But if they need it, then are they in the right place? Yeah. Why are we forcing kids to go to places that they need counselors to stay in?
Yeah, I mean, get your kids out of the government schools.
You need mental health work to stay in this institution? Maybe it's the problem. Maybe the problem is the institution.
It's definitely the problem. Institutionalization of all these things is the problem. If you want to have, help in the community, then let it be provided on a voluntary basis, on a consensual basis by local people who care about an issue and who might know the individuals involved and who care about the people that they're connected to in their community. You don't need to have the federal government coming in and getting involved in any of that.
No, I don't. And I'll thank all the concealed carry permit holders out there for being one of the most nonviolent and safe group of people in America.
I'd also like to thank the open carriers as well. Thank you for that, too. We will see you tomorrow night. You can join us online in between now and then over at freetalklive.com. Don't forget to join our Discord server at discord.lrn.fm.
Are you concerned that liberty, free market economics, and the values that made America great are no longer taught in schools? Well, so am I. So I got my son the Tuttle Twins children's book series.
My name is Jack, and I'm 11 years old, and I just started the Tuttle Twins. So far, I have learned that some people can use the government to ruin the economy and destroy people's businesses.
Give all the young people in your life a chance at reason and clear thought, because they're not going to get it at school. There are 9 books in the series, and each one teaches a set of ideas that children aren't getting elsewhere. Go to TuttleTwins.com and use coupon code FTL to get 40% off. Again, that's TuttleTwins.com.